We got a Miami Dolphins mailbag before NFL Week 9 as Miami travels to Buffalo to take on the Bills, who are 6-2 and leading the division. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. And before we get into answering some of these questions, we do need to give a shout out to our Instagram. At Dolphins Today IG is the handle you see in your bottom of your screen. We are 31 followers away from 500. If we get to 500 before the game on Sunday, we will have a special surprise for the Dolphins fans here at the channel and over on Instagram. We post content over there in between our videos here on the channel. So if you want more surrounding the Dolphins, posts, short form content, the IG is the spot to go find it. Dolphins Today IG. One more time, go give it a follow. We'll start with a $20 super chat. Shout out to JB, $20 super chat. Not sure if you saw Tua at one of the press conferences, but he went back to 2021 and talked about how they were 1-7 and won 8 in a row with a team not as good as this year's. Your thoughts on this? Well, I'll say this. I don't think it's possible. The schedule is a little bit more tough than it was back then. You got to go to Houston. You play San Francisco. You got to go to Green Bay. You play Buffalo this week, in Los Angeles. The Jets twice down the stretch, in Cleveland, Week 17. It's a tougher schedule, one. And yes, this team on paper has more talent, but can we have a safe conversation about that coaching staff being better? Like Brian Flores, probably a better coach than Mike McDaniel. Maybe. I don't know. I'm whispering that. I don't know. I just don't see it. This team has given me no reason to believe they can rattle off a win streak like that. I would love nothing more, folks, than to be proven wrong. But based off what I've seen through the first 7 games of the season, I don't think that this is going to happen. I like the optimism, JB, and I hope you're right. And I hope Tua is right. Vib, Evie, do we look at defensive line and interior offensive line first 2 rounds in the draft? It's hard not to. It's certainly very dependent on where you are picking in the draft. But when you look at the big board for this upcoming draft, some of the top prospects are on that line. Mason Graham from Michigan, James Pierce from Tennessee, Calvin Banks from Texas, Will Campbell from LSU, Abdul Carter from Penn State, Emory Jones from LSU, Tyreek Williams from Ohio State, Nick Sorton from Texas A&M. Like, there's just so many good offensive linemen, defensive linemen, to the point of, like, probably, and when your 2 biggest needs are that's where I'd lean. The 2 players that I want the most, at least to this point, would be either Kelvin Banks Jr. or Will Campbell. Both of them are offensive tackles currently. Kelvin Banks Jr.'s offensive tackle at Texas, and Will Campbell's the offensive tackle at LSU. And yes, we have Patrick Paul waiting in the wings at left tackle, the second-round pick from 2024, and you already have Austin Jackson at right tackle, but scouts have raved about the ability to play Will Campbell at any position on the offensive line, and Kelvin Banks projecting him to move inside. So those 2 guys, if the Dolphins were picking like between 8 and 12, I think that's their wheelhouse of when they might go. I would take both of them, and you can play, or take one of them and plug them in at left guard or right guard, whatever one you choose, and then maybe look for a defensive lineman in the second round, potentially, if you have a high pick there. So yes, the answer is likely to take a trenchman on either side of the football in the first 2 rounds. I know some people might say Cam Ward, Jadir Sanders. I don't think it's smart to draft a quarterback right now, especially in a weak QB class in the first 2 rounds. Oh, let me know, though, and this is a completely unrelated question, but with a trade deadline just 3 days away, what players should the Dolphins trade at the NFL trade deadline? You can talk about David Long Jr., you can talk Raheem Mostert, Calais Campbell, Emmanuel Ogbah. Let me know your thoughts down below. Every noodle with a question. Ideal prospects Miami should look at in the upcoming draft in case we are sellers. Expect to be, yeah, and I kind of mentioned them, right? Like, if you're looking first round, second round prospects, Mason Graham, Tyreek Williams, Calvin Banks, Will Campbell. I don't want to harp on it too much, but those are the top prospects that, at least to this point, would likely be first round picks. The Dolphins could use another edge rusher, or maybe they move off Bradley Chubb. Maybe they don't. But either way, a pass rusher / defensive lineman is a need. Interior offensive line is a need. Safety could be a need with Poyer leaving and Javon Holland being a free agent as well, but I'm probably not going to pick a safety in the first round. This team's going to have some roster holes, that's for sure, so it's a good time to have their first and second round picks. Oh, we are sponsored by DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook and casino, and you can play any way you want on DraftKings. Parlays, straight bets, player props. They're the home of player props, and they specialize in daily NBA player props. I'm so happy DraftKings is on board here at the channel. The NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. First time, new DraftKings customers bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HEATCHAT. That's code HEATCHAT for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/bball. I said you could play any way, and they have some really cool bets on there that just make it so much more fun when you're talking about wagers on Sundays or daily with NBA being here. I got Bills -6 this week, unfortunately. I think Buffalo hammers the Dolphins a little bit. I also have some fun bets for the first half. Dolphins for their first drive to result in a punt, +120. And Bills first to score in this game. Field goal, touchdown, safety, doesn't matter. In the first half, I think the Bills score first, -175. But make sure you download DraftKings. I know it's code HEATCHAT, but we have this special running for both the Heat channel and the Dolphins channel here. $5 bet when you sign up and download the app and use code HEATCHAT. $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets. Get started today. Uncivilized with a question. Who are we looking at for a future backup quarterback, fresh rookie from the draft, or shop around? Let me pull up real quick here, and this is great radio and a live VOD, but NFL free agent 2025, and we'll filter at the quarterback position here to see some of the guys available. Sorry, I'm not an encyclopedia. I don't know every single free agent to be in this upcoming class. Sorry to break that for you, but some of the guys out there, Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Taylor Heineke, Jacoby Brissett, Drew Lock, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz. I got to be honest, I think it's always good to have a developmental quarterback on your roster, so I wouldn't hate drafting one in the second round, whether it be a Drew Aller type who's got a big arm but struggles processing and accuracy-wise, a Jalen Milroe in the second or third round if he falls that far. I doubt he does. But with how strong this quarterback class is in terms of backups, like there is no good starting quarterbacks out there to go get in free agency. But backups, I'd welcome Jacoby Brissett back as a backup. I'd take Tyler Heineke as a backup. I'd take Drew Lock as a backup. Certainly would take Andy Dalton or Justin Fields. Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston could have the same thing said for him. Mason Rudolph. There's good free agent quarterbacks out there to back up, so I would have my eye on someone in the free agency market to back up. And I think the Dolphins know that if Tua is going to be your starting quarterback moving forward, you need to have a solid backup in case of emergency. So give me one of the guys on the free agent market. And when free agency comes around, I hate that we're already talking about it. We will be here for the latest news, rumors, and daily content. We're sometimes dropping 2 videos a day as well. Subscribe to the channel and join us for the best content on YouTube surrounding the Miami Dolphins. Irving Figueroa. Do you think the Dolphins trade Tyreek in 2025 and draft a wide receiver in the first round next year? No. Well, okay. So I answered the second part of the question first. Do I think they draft a wide receiver in the first round of the 25 draft? Absolutely not. I'll even go far as say this. If the Dolphins trade Tyreek Hill before the draft, so their wide receiver room is Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington, and no one, I still don't think the Dolphins would draft a wide receiver in the first round. I don't, because there still needs to be had on this roster more pressing. And you can have Waddle be that number one guy in the room and fill out with some crafty veterans, or draft someone in the second, third round to be your wide receiver 2 or 3. So to me, if you are trading Tyreek Hill, I am not using that pick to draft a wide receiver. I would use it to build the trenches or help your defense out and use different assets to add wide receivers to this room to replace Tyreek Hill. Because I think Waddle could be a wide receiver 1 in the future if he is able to get better in terms of dropping the football, which has never been that big of an issue for him, but 5 drops this year leads the team. It's been bad. So I don't think they draft a wide receiver in round 1. Do I think the Dolphins trade Tyreek? I ultimately lean no. I don't think that he gets dealt. I think he ultimately stays. He wants to be here. I think the Dolphins want to keep him here. If they ultimately fire McDaniel, Greer, and try to move off from Tua at any point, that's maybe when Tyreek gets dealt with new regime, but not with this current regime. All right, the Dolphins do play the Bills Sunday. What's your confidence or chance to beat the Bills? Drop a number for me. Scale it 1 to 10. I give it 4.4. Not very confident. 44% chance, which actually I guess might be relatively high. I don't know. We'll go 4.4. Anthony with a question. What that dog doing? I think that's a dog. Hope that's a dog. If it's not a dog, we got issues. Rank the top safeties and corners that you would draft in the first 2 rounds of the Dolphins. Guys, I got to be honest. I appreciate you guys asking me these questions, but when it's week 9 of the football season, I don't have my full scouting hat on. I am not deep diving in the corners and safeties of the NFL draft at this point. But I will say this. I do know some of the top guys. The top corner is Will Johnson from Michigan. Travis Hunter's interesting if he plays corner, but he might be drafted inside the top 5. Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, but he suffered a torn ACL, I believe, so he's recovering from a guy. The East Carolina guy, what's his name? Fuck. The East Carolina corner is really good, but I think he also tore his ACL, so 2 of the top guys are out. Safety-wise, Malachi Starks is really good from Georgia. Maybe he's your Javon Holland replacement, but yeah, I don't have the top guys off dome right now. I haven't had enough time to look into them. I'm so focused about this team trying to turn around this season. We'll start looking in our draft prep in late December, January, if the Dolphins are out of it, into March, February, April. So, yeah, we're not going to get right into it right now, unfortunately. We don't have that off dome. We're not a draft expert here just yet. Not a draft expert just yet. But I'll tell you what, we'll have content around the Miami Dolphins all year round over on our Instagram. At Dolphins Today IG is the handle. Like I said, let's get to 500 followers from today's video. We're under 30 away. Go help us out by following us at Dolphins Today IG.